In this episode, I sit down with Christine Bush and Joanna Alexopoulos, two spiritual practitioners who have each published powerful channeled books. We talked about what inspired them to write, the real behind-the-scenes journey from idea to published book, and how it's transformed their lives and their businesses. Neither of them are tech-savvy, both had fears and doubts, and both found their way by just trusting the process. So whether you're thinking of publishing a book or simply feel called to share your message with the world, this conversation is full of honest advice, encouragement, and practical tips, especially if you're doing it for the first time. Enjoy. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Oracle Podcast, Spiritual Entrepreneurship. It is lovely to have two of Oracle's practitioners on here, Christine Bush and Joanna Alexopoulos. And today we are talking about book publishing, because these two lovely ladies have published a book and it will be great to hear their stories. So welcome both ladies. I'd like to get started with Christine. Christine, I know you have very recently published a book. It's doing super well. It's called Understanding Your Soul, the Channeled Wisdom of Jesus. I can't actually wait to get a copy. I've seen the cover. I love it. But I'd love to know how you came up with this idea of publishing a book. Can you tell us about that?
Well, actually, I never had any idea of publishing a book ever in my life. But I was channeling Jesus one day, and he said to me, would you channel a book with me? So I said, well, I'll try. What the heck? So we channeled the book, and he dictated every word to me and told me how long it was going to be and the chapters and the titles of the chapters, everything about it. And so that's how I ended up with a channeled book. Once the manuscript was done, then I had to figure out what to do with it, because I figured he didn't go to all that work unless he really wanted it to be out and to be read.
So when did you start writing the book, and when did you finish? How long did it take you?
Well, it didn't take that long to channel. It was about 3 years ago. I think that it started almost 3 years ago. And I channeled the whole thing in about 3 weeks.
Amazing. You were typing it.
Actually, I wrote it all out longhand at first because I didn't know how it was going to work. So I wrote it all out longhand, and then I transcribed it. Yeah, and then I typed it.
Okay. Wow. Amazing. Joanna, over to you. When did you think about channeling a book? How did the idea come to you? And
Yes, my blog, Awaken To Your Truth, The Time Is Now, is channeled through the energy of the Ascended Masters. I transcribed it, had to make some changes so that people can understand, because there was things that were repeated many times over. And so I had to kind of make it flow better. And that's where I stepped in. But every word is channeled. I really never thought that I would ever write a book. I mean, I do have 30 years experience in teaching, so I was always in the writing mode sort of thing, and educating. And then what happened was, when I connected with my spirit guides, they kept telling me that I've written a book, and actually I've written 3. It's a trilogy, and they're doing phenomenally well. And I thought, well, who would want to read my story? First of all, I never thought it would be for everyone. And they said, no, it's not for you, it's for humanity. And the words will be given to you. So I still doubted a lot. So it took me a long time before I actually sat down to write it. The form of communication that I was using when I was channeling my spirit guides for 7 years before I started to channel for the book, was through handwriting. And then I was just guided to the computer. And so the channeling happened through the keyboard. And that's when the Ascended Masters came through and introduced themselves and said, we're here to assist you, and let's begin. So it was a year after that the book was born. Well, the manuscript, I should say, was born. And then I had to do as Christine said, I had to figure out what to do with it. But it took a long time for me because there was a lot of self-doubt. And so I wasn't channeling regularly the book. At that time, that was 2017. Like, I didn't think that I was worthy enough really to get this information out. So I kept blocking it. And then I wouldn't write for many days or weeks sometimes. And then I'd get back to it. And they kept telling me to trust what was coming through. And it's for everyone. And just have faith. These are words that are needed right now for humanity. And so, yeah, that's the reason why it took so long as it did, a year to complete the manuscript.
Mm. It's interesting because I can hear so many other practitioners saying the exact same thing. I'm not worthy. Who am I to write a book?
Mhm.
I don't know how to do it. But I think that that's how most people start when they think about writing a book. I think most people don't feel like they have something to say until they actually start writing it. And then next thing you know, they have the book and, it does really well.
I'd like to add that there was a lot of fear there of being seen for me. There was a lot of fear that will my book be accepted? Are people gonna like it? Are they gonna think I'm crazy with what's coming through? I was very much in that mode. So
Yeah.
it's wonderful though. With the fear that I had, with the fears that were coming through, that I was actually able to channel and continue, and I stood strong with continuing the work. So yeah,
Yeah.
it was a hard and difficult process, but it was well worth it.
Well done. Well done for pushing through. So, from the moment that you have, say, the manuscript, you've now got it on the computer, to you actually having the book in your hands, please can you take us through that process? Maybe we'll start with Christine. Like, what happened? Even if it was unconventional, it doesn't matter. Like, what was that whole process until you ended up with the book? How did it go?
Yeah, my route was pretty unconventional. I really didn't know anything about publishing, so I did a lot of research on going with a publisher versus self-publishing and the advantages and disadvantages of both. And one thing I found when I was researching publishers is there are an awful lot of publishers who don't want to have anything to do with a channeled book. So I was kind of drawn to doing self-publishing just because of that, because I just didn't want to try to jump through the finding a publisher. And I went to a self-publishing company that had been recommended to me simply because I didn't want to do all that work myself. So I went to a company and they did everything. And I was very pleased with the book that they published. That came how when it came out, they did all the work and I picked the cover and that was about it. I gave them the information. But then when I had copies of the book in hand, I belong to Unity of Buffalo here. And I gave copies of the book to a few people here and they loved it, and they decided they wanted to do a book study of it. So we did a 6-week book study where they discussed the book, and then I channeled for about 45 minutes. I channeled a lesson from Jesus on the book, and then they asked questions, and he gave the answers, channeled answers to it. And we did that for 6 weeks, and then the minister here thought that it was very well received. It was the biggest book study group they had ever had, and she thought it needed a bigger audience. So she asked if she could refer me to Unity Worldwide Headquarters publishing arm, Unity Books. And she referred me to the vice president for publishing. And so she sent her an introductory letter, and I sent her the book with a cover letter. And she now will say when she received it all, she was rolling her eyes because she, never thought about publishing a channeled book, didn't know what she thought about channeling in general. And they had never published a book that had been previously self-published before. So it was kind of a leap for them. But she read it. She decided she would read it. I think she only read it because it was referred to her by a minister here who she respected. And so she read the book and she loved it and decided that they would publish it. So we signed a contract to publish it, and we added a preface, and we added all the transcript of all the lessons and questions and answers from the study groups that we had done here locally and put them at the end of the book. So it took them, I guess, about 10 months to process the book, and it was released on March 1st.
And Unity Church, what kind of a church is that? How is it related to Christianity and Jesus?
Well, they call it a church of practical Christianity. It's a church that has no dogma. It accepts everybody exactly the way they are. It's
Mm.
a church that takes diversity, equity, inclusion very seriously. It's a foundation of the church, and they accept the truths of all religions. And their interpretation of Jesus and the Bible is metaphysical rather than literal. So it's a very liberal, inclusive church.
Hmm. Okay, that's amazing. Well done. That's great. Joanna, take us through your journey again from manuscript to hard copy. How did it go for you?
I decided that I would self-publish, and I wasn't quite sure actually what self-publishing meant. I thought I would have total autonomy, but I was surprised that I didn't in the end. So anyway, it was a process that took a year for me, and it was a back and forth with the publishing company. I had some trouble with technology because I'm not really an expert on that. So this back and forth business created a lot of stress for me. But I got help from my two boys, and thankfully they helped me, with sending things off all the time, but this back and forth business with even creating the book cover and choosing what I wanted and creating a reel for the book to introduce the book, a little video. I was with them for 3 years, I think, before I decided to move on because every time that I would ask them for something, there was another additional cost that I would have to incur. They would take a long time to respond to whatever I needed help with. And so I just didn't like the feel that I had all of these restrictions and all of this having to go through them to do anything that I wanted to do. I didn't feel comfortable. So I decided to leave them. And then I also decided to update the book with the master's assistance to make it even better. So I created a second edition to the book, and that came out just recently last spring. And I did it through Amazon. So I uploaded it myself and with help again from my kids. And also I hired some people through Fiverr and
Mm.
they helped me with creating a book cover, and I didn't really need editing done. So there was a few things that I needed. And yeah, and so the second edition came out, and I have to say I'm really grateful because I feel that my book has better energy, having done it this way. And I feel that there's more freedom in that. And well, the first edition won an International Book Award, Reader's Favorite Award. Again, I had a lot of self-doubt with my book. The first edition, there was a lot of heaviness, a lot of negative energy through the book company, and also I felt and through me, because I still was very unsure of what I had produced, and I just doubted a lot. So I was not in a good place. And I have to say that that really impacted the reach. But the second time around, I felt more comfortable, and I feel I'm in a better place right now. I don't have that self-doubt anymore, and it's doing much better. It won another couple of awards, and then it also became a bestseller.
So you said you self-published, but the first time you used a company, is that like a self-publishing company?
Yeah, that's where I was confused. I thought that they say I wanted to self-publish, but then there's a company involved in the self-publishing, which really confused me. So you're
Mm.
not really self-publishing because you're using a company.
Can I ask you what that company was called?
Friesen Press.
Okay.
And it's a company in Canada. So I chose a company. I'm from Toronto. So I stayed in Canada. I chose a Canadian company. I
Mm.
was drawn to the name, and I just thought, okay, well, I'm going with how I feel.
And now the second edition you did through Amazon. So you can self-publish through Amazon is what you're saying. And is
Yes.
it pretty straightforward? Like you say, you choose the cover. What other things must you do? Is it quite easy?
Yeah. Everything is straightforward now. If you're tech savvy, if you know a little bit of, you don't even have to be that tech savvy. It's very simple to upload by yourself. Actually, you can even do the book cover yourself. So, I mean, I have a friend who is also a channeler. She just published a book and she did every single thing by herself and through Amazon. So it doesn't
Through
cost you
Amazon.
much. With a publishing company, it was very expensive. Like it
Mm.
cost me about $4,000.
Oh, wow. And through Amazon, how much?
Nothing.
Oh, okay. So because they just take the commission when they sell the book.
Yeah, they take very small commission. That's another thing. Through Freeze and Press, they took almost everything. I was making like $5 a book.
Mm. Well, that's amazing.
Yeah, through Amazon, I'm making my book is now $20. I'm making $15. So they're just taking $5. It's worth it. And then anytime you want to change something, you can just go in there, you can change it, you can, you don't have to go through anyone else, and you shouldn't have to. You should be able to do whatever you want to do with your own work whenever you want to do it. So I would encourage people to do it that way.
But when you say if you want to change something, I mean, you can't change the cover of something that you've already published and people have bought and reviewed, or can you?
The cover, no, but the manuscript, yes, you can change any part of it. You can
Oh,
upload a new manuscript. If you
wow.
don't like, let's say the last page of it where I don't know, that you might want to change something, you can.
Hmm.
Now, then again, listen, I'm not there yet to be able to do that. I would have to get help with because I'm not tech savvy at all. So, I mean, there are things that I would like to change. Like, for example, when I hired somebody from Fiverr, it's an independent company. I mean, it has independent people working for them doing different things. And I hired somebody to format the book. And he mistakenly put that my book is being published in 2023. And I didn't notice that it was wrong until somebody brought my book and showed it to me and said, "Oh my goodness, I thought you said you just published a book. Why does it say 2023? That's last year." So the year is wrong. At first I thought, "Oh my goodness, that's a big deal." And then a friend of mine said, "Well, why are you thinking it's a big deal? It's not that big of a deal. What does it matter really? Do you
Hmm.
really want to change it? Do you really you think that's going to make a difference? I don't know. Right now, I haven't changed it, but the book shows that it was published in 2023 when really it was 2024. So if I
Hmm.
change anything, that's something I would like to change. Yeah.
Okay. But you're saying that you would be able to do that then in Amazon if you were tech
Yes.
savvy. And so for both of you, maybe I'll go to Christine. I mean, what has publishing this book done for you? And you can speak to anything, I suppose. But what has it meant for you personally? What has it done for your business? What, and I know you're in the middle of it still, but yeah, run us through that.
Yeah. Well, personally, it's been a big growth opportunity. I mean, I did something that I never thought I would do, and I also had a lot of qualms about outing myself as a channeler of Jesus, let alone a book. It was like, oh my gosh, what are people going to respond to that? So I went through my kind of fears myself, and so it was a growth opportunity for me to do that. But as far as working with the publishing company, there's been two really great advantages. One has been exposure, and the other one is the book itself. But as far as exposure, they did a meet the author session that they invited people from worldwide, because they are a worldwide organization. And we had over 400 people live on the Zoom call and another 400 people who got the video of that. And they interviewed me, and then I channeled for 45 minutes and we took questions from the audience. So that was great exposure. And I just got a ton of requests for individual channelings from that. Although I have to admit, individual channelings are not I like the group channelings in the books more is what I would prefer to do. But I do enjoy individual channelings, and I got a lot of requests, and that's continuing. And they want to continue it because it was so well received. They're talking about doing more of these large Zoom events with my channeling. And so we're kind of trying to figure out how to do that and if we want to do book study groups or what we want to do with that. But we're in discussion about how to do more of that. So the exposure is wonderful. that you get with
Mm.
a large organization like that. And also with the book, it came out March 1st, and by the end of April, it had already sold 5 times the number of books I sold in 2 years of my self-publishing because they have
Mm.
marketing. They know how to market. It's just been a pleasure to work with them. I'm now working with them on my second book. The book has just been edited, and now we're doing another book study to get questions and answers to put into the second book to expand that book too. So yeah, it's been a wonderful experience. True, I could probably get more royalties from
Mm.
self-publishing in one way or another, but that's not my primary concern out of publishing the book. My concern is getting it to the most people possible. And I think that
Mm.
that's possible through them much more than I could do.
Amazing. That's, I suppose you were lucky in a way. I don't know that it got picked up by these guys. Do you think that people can go and reach out to organizations like not necessarily Unity Church, but like them to do something similar? Or do you think you were kind of lucky?
Looking for unusual ways to do things is a real good way to go instead of just looking at the traditional, that there's only, the tried and beaten path to go down, that there are other paths to go down. I also
Mm.
think that listening to your own internal guidance is real important because the whole time I was working with the book and before it was published, I was like anguishing about what am I going to do? I know I should do something with it, but I don't know what to do. And Jesus kept telling me, stop trying to get ahead of everything all the time. Allow things just to flow and open up to what will come and things will come to you. Put out what you want, put out the path that you would like and what's things you like the most, which is group challenge. And that's what I'm doing now. And working on books. And that's what came. So I think following your own inner guidance rather than getting so wound up in your head trying to figure it out what the next step is sometimes it's certainly helped me and through that wonderful things have
Mm.
opened up.
Amazing. Thank you. And Joanna, what can you say in terms of what this book has done for you?
Oh, well, I definitely agree with Christine. It has created a whole new window of opportunity for me. I'm invited to places to speak, and I'm just thrilled when I get to do that. I think knowing that this book has reached many lives, it warms my heart to know this because our world is in a state right now where it needs a lot of love. We need love and guidance, and books like mine and Christine's are so very important to get the messages out there and to just help people understand the power that they are and that we are and how we can transform our lives and create the life that we really wish to create. So it's just like I'm the face behind the book. I always put my book first because I think it's so very important and the messages is just so beautiful and so hopeful and so powerful for people to come to that realization of the love and the truths that they really are, that you know what, that's the ultimate, and we're moving out of fear into that beautiful state of love. And yeah, these books like mine and Christine's are so welcomed now and so powerful. I'm very grateful, feeling very grateful and blessed. And I know that it's really important for everyone to just put fear aside and self-doubt aside and get out of our minds and remember to just allow things to flow and get into your heart space and just feel your way through whatever project you're involved in, whatever it is, whether it's writing a book or whatever. Just follow your inner guidance system because it's there guiding you, and don't get all confused. I think it's confused and overwhelmed with everything and the entire process of whatever you're doing. Take one step at a time. And that's what was coming through a lot for me for the book. Just take it easy and just do one thing at a time, and trust and go with, as Christine said, don't follow the conventional route because honestly, I tried that and it didn't work. I was trying to do what everyone else was doing to get the book out there. But no, you do you, and things will come to you. And it's a beautiful message. Yes.
Thank you. Okay, and so ladies, perhaps the last question for each. What advice would you have for other spiritual practitioners that are thinking about publishing a book? What would you be your best piece of advice throughout this process? Christine, we'll go with you.
I think the first thing I would say is if you're feeling called to write a book, do it. Because right now, I think they're needed more than ever before. The more spiritual works that we're having out there from different perspectives, reaching different audiences is wonderful. So if you're feeling really an inner calling to write a book, do it because it's needed. Secondly, as we talked about, just follow your inner guidance. Do research and find out what's out there. And, all the different paths that there are, but just be open to the unexpected and to follow your inner guidance. Don't keep trying to figure everything out in your head ahead of time. Allow things to flow. And they will, because the universe needs it.
Thank you. Absolutely. Thank you, Christine and Joanna.
Yeah, I agree totally with Christine. I think follow whatever you're called to do. Put fear and self-doubt aside and just feel your way. If you feel it in your heart that, this is something that you need to do, then do it. Don't second guess yourself and don't worry about tomorrow and all the potential issues you may have in getting your book out there. Just do it and trust.
I couldn't agree more. Amazing, ladies. Thank you both so much. Understanding Your Soul, the Channel Wisdom of Jesus is Christine's book, and Awaken to Your Truth, The Time Is Now is Joanna's. Of course, we will have links to those below. I'm so proud of both of you for really putting that fear aside and just going for it and following your heart and sharing your message, like you both said, so needed. And I am so grateful to both of you for writing the book, for doing what you do, and for being on Oracle and for being on this podcast. Thank you for sharing your journey. It's been great.
Thank you for having me, Wayne. It was great.
It was wonderful. Thank you.